instructors for today. A little bit about me and how I got here. I've been here for a little over 4 years now. International instructor for BMW Motorrad. Started racing motorcycles when about 5 years old. And so I do the on-road and off-road programs here as well as the car programs. Been involved with car racing and also law enforcement training as well. Also a motor officer, certified through the North Carolina Highway Patrol, and also work for the Henderson County Sheriff's Office. So you guys are going to have a great day today, but we're going to be in the classroom here for about 15 minutes or so, kind of go over some rules and things like that. And then what we'll do is we'll be on course till about 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, we're going to bring everyone together back in the building, and we're going to split the group in half. Half of the group will take delivery of their vehicle, and the other half will go for the plant tour and do some off-roading in the X5s. And then we'll bring everyone together at 12 o'clock, we'll have lunch together, and then after lunch, we'll just split the groups. Your day should end somewhere between 2:30 to 3 o'clock. Any questions? All right, gang, then we'll go ahead and get started. Gang, what do you think your most important tool as a driver is, taking the vehicle completely out of the equation? Being awake, that's definitely helpful. For those that have been here before, anyone remember?
Your vision, I think.
Sense of balance, that helps. It's the eyes, gang. Think about it. All your lives, your eyes have been trained, your hands have been trained to go where your eyes are looking. All right. How many times you've been driving down the road, you see that pothole, you see that rock in the road, you know you want to miss it, but you look at it, you're like, look at the size of that. And next thing you know, you're hitting it, right? So your hands are going to go where your eyes are looking. So this is especially important today when you're out there on course. Now we've got one exercise set up for you where it's an offset slalom. And as you're going through this slalom, you don't want to look at or fixate on those cones on course. If you look at them, you're going to hit them, and we're going to have to go pick them up. So what we'd rather you do is look where you want the car to go. So as you're going through there, I shouldn't be looking at this cone. I should be looking back behind it, looking through the course, basically looking where I want to go, not where the car's trying to take me. All right? We want to understand this. Well, let's talk about vehicle dynamics for just a moment. Let's say these are the contact patches of the tire. This is an overhead view of your vehicle sitting on the roadway. These would be the front tires, these would be the rear tires. And guys, if you're thinking about it, every BMW, whether it's a 1 Series, whether it's a 7 Series, has a near perfect 50-50 weight distribution. Okay? 50% of the front weight, or the weight is on the front axles, 50% of the weight's on the rear axles. Gives it very neutral handling characteristics. It's very desirable in a performance-oriented vehicle. But let's think about what happens when you jump on the gas. Where does all the weight go in a vehicle? When you jump on the gas, it goes to the back. That's right. So when everything on the dash ends up in the seat. But more importantly, what happens is these contact patches in the back become larger, and up front they become smaller. You guys ever watch any drag racing? Ever seen that? They get these big monster tires in the back, and up front these little tiny tires. The reason is they're not worried about turning the vehicle. They're just worried about grip and acceleration. But as you're going through this offset slalom, let's say you get to this point here, you're almost through the slalom cone, you see that last cone, and you want to hurry up jump on the gas somewhere in here. Well, what's going to happen is all that weight's going to go to the rear of the vehicle, the front end's going to have less grip, and the front tires only want to turn for you. So the vehicle's going to want to go straight instead of being able to actually complete the turn for you. So it's very important on what you're doing with that gas and what you're doing with the brake. Of course, when you use the brakes, where does all the weight go? It goes to the front. Contact patches become larger up front. They do become smaller in the rear. So a way to think of it is brakes actually help you turn a vehicle. Okay? For those that might be new to the BMW brand, or maybe those that have owned them before, where do you usually find the battery? In the back, in the trunk. It doesn't make sense to have the battery that far away from the vehicle's electronics. But the engineer said, hey, here's 25 pounds of ballast, where can we put it to help us achieve this near perfect 50-50 weight distribution? Okay. Any questions about the handling course? One of the other things we say around here is NYC. I know a lot of you from New York, but it stands for not your car. Not your gas, not your tires. We want you guys to have fun out there. There are no speed limits, but we do ask you to remain in control. All right? That'll take us to the next thing, which is ABS. Does anyone know what that stands for? Yeah, analog braking system. How many people have ever felt it? All right, nice. About half of you. One interesting fact about analog brakes is that it has not reduced single vehicle accidents in the least bit. And the reason is lack of driver training on how to use this system. Okay? We've had it standard on every BMW since about 1984. And what we're going to do is we're going to give you a braking exercise where you're really going to get a feel of what that ABS will do for you. Now in the real world, you get in a panic situation, you got to get that vehicle stopped as quickly as you can. You don't know if your escape path is to the left or to the right. For today's exercise, we're going to tell you it is to the left, okay? So as you're coming up through here, and we'll have you guys start off at 35 miles an hour. And one thing I do want to mention, everything is challenged by choice. If your threshold of fun or excitement is 40 miles an hour, you don't have to go any faster, because we'll start you off at 35, we'll do 40, 45, 50. But if you don't want to go that fast, you don't have to. The speeds, what we're going to be doing today, are going to be much slower than what you do out in the real world. When you leave here today, you might do 70 on the interstate. We probably won't hit that on the course today, okay? You don't need speed to show vehicle dynamics, okay? It doesn't mean you're not going to have fun. It's just we don't have to have big speed to do it. So as you're approaching this at 35 miles an hour, first and foremost is the eyes. You need to be looking where you want to go. In this case, to your escape path. And what we're going to do is we're going to park Mr. Sampson's new X5 right here. We don't want you looking at or fixating on his X5. He wants to go to the compact version.
An exercise in trust.
That's right. That's right. And gang, don't cheat yourself. Wait till you get to this first row of cones to apply those brakes. But as you come in at 35 miles an hour, you get to that first row of cones, I want you to stomp the pedal as hard as you possibly can. We call this the 3 S's, okay? Now what do you think you're going to feel when you stomp on that brake pedal?
Pulsation.
That's right, pulsation. They used to teach us a long time ago, you know, to pump the brakes before we had ABS. They were trying to keep from getting lockup. Now that system will do that for you. So you're going to jump on that pedal, you're going to feel that pulsating. A lot of people will take brake pedal pressure off when they feel that. We want you to stay on it as hard as you can. We want you to bend that pedal, okay? Stay on the brake, 10 out of 10 on that pedal until that vehicle comes to a complete stop. And as your speeds start to increase, of course, you're going to need to steer the vehicle. Don't steer just barely away from Mr. Sampson's X5. I really want you to get away from it, get closer to these cones here, all the while keeping your eyes up. And so the last one is steer. So those 3 S's, stomp, stay, and steer. And because we're telling you that your escape path is to the left today, favor the right side on entry. Don't be in this position over here or any further left than that. Just hug this cone here, stomp, stay on the pedal until the vehicle comes to a complete stop. Any questions? One of the other things we say is, don't think of it as analog braking system. Think of it as allows braking and steering. Okay? We'll allow both simultaneously. All right, moving right along, then we're going to talk about another feature that every BMW has, and that is DSC. Does anyone know what that stands for?
Dynamic stability control.
Right, we've been doing some reading. Dynamic stability control. All BMWs have had it since about 94, 95. The system is always on. Anytime you turn your vehicle on, that system is on, okay? Dynamic stability control is the main system. Everyone has a button on the dash. You have, let's say, a 3 Series, might be labeled DTC. You have an M3, it'll be labeled DSC or an M5. If you have an X5, they've changed this icon to where it looks like the back of a truck or back of a vehicle with little squiggly lines behind it. But whatever the button looks like, it's all the same. It works the same way. So the main system is dynamic stability control, and it's completely on. If you reach up and touch whatever button it is that you have and release it for just a second, just on the button, off the button, it's going to put you into DTC, which is dynamic traction control. That is a soft defeat of the system. The system still works, but it allows a little more rotation. Lets you get away with a little bit more before it starts to intervene, basically. It's a soft defeat. You push the same button and hold it for about 4 seconds, then you're going to see this symbol on the dash, called the happy button. This means DSC off. The car does nothing as far as the electronics to help you. It doesn't do any intervening. If you wanted to drift the car or anything like that, or get unlimited wheel spin, that's the system you'll need to be in. All right. So basically, leave the system on unless it's starting to hinder you. Now we go to the soft defeat. If that doesn't do it for you, then you can turn it off. You don't have any questions about the system. And a very simple way to kind of understand what this system's doing. Let's say you have a raft and you're going up the river and you have a man at each corner with an oar. Let's say you're going up the river nice and straight. For some reason or another, this raft were to start rotating. It doesn't matter the direction. We'll just say counterclockwise. Well, as this raft started to rotate counterclockwise All you'd have to do is tell these two guys here, put their oars in the water, we'll create a little bit of drag, a little bit of resistance, and it'll get that raft back straight again. It's very similar to how the dynamic stability control works in your vehicle. It has the ability to apply brakes to each individual wheel. Even though you're nowhere near the brake pedal, it can apply brakes for you, and it can pull power away from you to help get that car back straight again. Okay? Any questions? No questions?
Now, when would you use?
There we go, that's what I was looking for. A lot of people say, well, if it's so great, why do you give us a button to play with? And I'll tell you, personal example, I was driving an M6 last year up in the mountains. I've got a place up there and I've got a steep driveway that kind of turns and goes up the hill. We started to get a little bit of snow. An M6 is a rear-wheel drive vehicle. It could be mud though, it could be sand. I started to make the turns and I started to go up the hill. We had this light dusting with snow on the ground, and as I gave it gas, the car tried to give me a little bit of wheel spin. The computer said, hey, something's wrong, we've got wheel spin going on, we don't need power right now. So as I started to give it power to get up the hill, it started pulling power away. To where I'm sitting here with a 505 horsepower car, full throttle, and I'm barely off idle, I'm about 1,200 RPMs. Well, I'm trying to get up the hill, so what I had to do was push the button going to the soft defeat, and that allowed me just enough wheel spin to be able to get to the top. A situation where you might turn the system completely off, let's say you get stuck in some deep sand or deep snow or a deep mud, and you need unlimited wheel spin to maybe rock that vehicle out of its stuck location, that would be a situation where you might want to turn that system completely off. All right, so let's say no matter how good of a driver you are, let's say the fastest you can possibly go through this turn is 10 miles an hour. And you are traveling at 70 miles an hour. It's not the time to look over at your wife or your girlfriend and say,